Hey guys, so in the last video we set up the sonoff, which is a $5 smart switch which connects to your Wi-Fi, and I also showed you how to flash it to work with SmartThings. In this video we're going to be using that same sonoff to control my garage door. So if you are going to be doing this yourself, you need to watch the first video to learn how to get the sonoff connected to SmartThings by flashing it. It's very simple. You just need a few extra supplies and you are good to go. So without further ado, let's get started. What's up guys, it's Drew from Taylor Tech, and on this channel we do smart home tech reviews, installations, and DIY guides. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. And hey, at any time, check out the video description down below for show notes and product links for everything mentioned in this video. Now this is the sonoff right here. I have it plugged into this lamp still from the last video. As you can see here, the output is plugged into this lamp. I just want to show you how it works really quick if you were too lazy to go watch the first video first. And boom, off, on, super responsive. This is using the SmartThings app. In order for this to work with our garage doors, this output can't output 120 volts. That will fry your garage door. This needs to simply close a contact that will send the signal from the bell wires that you're using on your garage door. It basically simulates the same thing you do when you push the button to open and close your garage door. We just need to close that contact, which sends the signal to your garage door opener, which will either open or close it. So in order to do that, we will need to do some soldering, some desoldering, and a little bit of hackery. It's not ideal. It's not recommended for everyone, and you could potentially fry your board, and you are working with mains voltage. So you need to be careful with what you're doing, but if you do it properly, then you will be okay. Like I said previously, I've been running this for over a year without any issues. So I'm going to take these wires off and head over to the workbench where it's a little bit easier to work and show you what's going on. All right, so let's go ahead and pop open this sonoff once again. We're not going to be using that for a minute. Let's take another look at some of the components of the device itself. Now, this is the main thing we'll be messing with today, and that's the relay itself. Now, normally we have 120 volts input. It goes to this relay, and the relay will switch the 120 volts to the output, either on or off, if the relay is triggered or not. So the first thing we're going to be doing is relocating this end, the input end of this wire here. As you can see, the input neutral, which is this side here, just simply follows over. If we go on the bottom, it just simply connects there, and this wire goes straight all the way over to the neutral side of this one. So what we're going to be doing is actually desoldering from this end, and we're going to be attaching it to this spot right here, which is actually the other side of the relay. So from the output, we are not going to be outputting neutral anymore. We are going to be connecting it to the side of the relay. So for starters, let's go ahead and just desolder that. I'm going to attach this here to my helping hands. And right here, I'm just going to be adding some heat and pulling it from the bottom. And there we go, this one just pulled straight out the bottom. So we need to relocate this wire to the end of this channel here, which is the bottom of the relay for the output side. Now we need to split this section here between the solder joint for the relay and this one, which actually is connected to a resistor on the other side, which is what takes the input voltage. So we don't want any input voltage going in to the relay anymore. So we need to get rid of some of this solder, and I'm going to simply cut the PCB across here and make a gap between the relay and that resistor. Now normally to get rid of solder, you would heat this up and use something like a solder pump or a solder wick or something like that. And I'm actually all out of wicks and I can't find my pump anywhere. So what I'm going to do is just heat this up and try to wipe as much off as I can without getting it all over the place. And then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and cut across here carefully in between the relay and the resistor. And then we'll go ahead and solder this wire here and we'll be good to go. And now this should be a better view of where you can see the end of the resistor, or I'm sorry, the relay here and the end of the resistor here. So we need to cut along this end here and just create a gap. Oh, and be careful of your push button down here. If you're pressing on something, try not to break that off. All right, so hopefully you can see this. Right here, I was able to cut the PCB and separating these two sections. Now this might be sufficient in ensuring that the current doesn't travel across these, but I'm going to go ahead and grab some heat shrink and just fill in this gap here and wrap it around this edge where the resistor is on the resistor side, and just to make extra sure that no current jumps that gap or anything. All right, so we've got our scrap piece of heat shrink in there. Let me hit it with some heat and hopefully that's secure around it. All right, so that molded around that perfectly, just how I wanted it. So now we don't have to worry about that gap getting jumped in between the resistor and the relay. Now all we need to do is solder this wire onto this, which is the bottom of that relay. Okay, so now we've got this wire soldered to the bottom of the relay, and we've got a gap with our heat shrink protecting us from that resistor, which we don't want them to touch anymore. So let's do a little bit of a recap on what's going on here. So here's our input. We used to have our wire here that just went to the output here. But now we've taken that wire off, and all that our input is being used for now is just powering the board. So if we take a look at the bottom, we can see that now our neutral, which was here, is now down here, soldered to the bottom of this relay. And this wire is connected to the output. Now what's also connected to the output for the hot end is this red wire, which as you can see is connected to the other side of this green terminal. And this red wire is going to the other side of this relay. So now we've got both sides. The red, which you should be able to see represented here, the red wire is going to this corner of the relay, and the blue is going to this corner of the relay. So anything going to the output end of this sonoff will now be a dry contact in contact with this relay. So if this relay is open, nothing happens to the output. If this relay is closed, whatever is connected in here will be touching, and in my case, will be used to close or open the garage door. In your case, it may be something different that you're trying to control, but all I have to do is put this thing back together and connect my garage door bell wires to the output. And then I can put 120 volts into the input to power the whole thing. Looks like I need to make a little bit of modification. Just need to cut a little bit of this plastic away to fit the new fitted wires. So I had to do a little bit of modification here for the new wire that is now going to the bottom of the board instead of on top. Just need to cut out a little bit of that plastic. And now this should go back on top. Let's go ahead and connect the input to an outlet and just make sure everything is working correctly in SmartThings once again. Go ahead and plug this in now. All right, so now that it's plugged in, I gave it about 30 seconds to boot up. Now let's go ahead and see if the internal relay is still working. There we go. You should be able to hear that relay clicking on and off as I turn it on in the SmartThings app. Now, I'm not sure if you can see the LED. Should be able to see the LED right around this location. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and bring this to the garage, and we will screw in the bell wires to this end and see if it works. All right, so in the garage, I have two garage doors. As you can see here, there's one, the opener for that, kind of an old opener, but it still works. And there's the other one, there's the other opener. And here's Ava. What? And a bunch of mess from Christmas still. Anyway, the beauty of this is that it should be able to work with just about any garage door opener. As you can see, this is a pretty old Chamberlain power drive, 1/2 horsepower. None of that really matters for this application. All that matters is that it is controlled by these bell wires and a push button. So anything that just needs these two wires to basically touch for a second to send that signal, then it will work. Let me give you a little bit of an example right here. So I'm just going to simulate what the relay is going to do by touching these wires together for a second. And there we go. And touching them together, now that it's open, we'll simulate pushing the button once again. There we go. And I don't know if I've mentioned it yet or not, but these do need to be paired with a contact sensor or a tilt sensor or something like that for a garage door. Now in a previous video, I showed the contact sensors that I have. This is one that I'm honestly surprised it's still working. This is kind of a mess down here. A bunch of grass and stuff stuck in there. But this is the magnet under here, and this is the contact sensor stuck to the garage door with a command strip. And I mentioned in the video where I installed the one on the other door, which is this one here, I used a hinge in conjunction with this contact sensor. So when the door is open, it's in this state and shows the door open. And I mentioned that I was going to be replacing this one over here with that new hinge system, but surprisingly that one's been working just as, if not more reliably than the hinge one that I made, which works really well also. I think that one's just a little bit further away from my Z-Wave mesh, so it's a little bit finicky at times. But the one that's on the ground connected to the garage door works every time. So here is the sonoff. I've got it plugged in just off frame there that we programmed downstairs. And I plugged it in, and we're just making sure I have good Wi-Fi signal out here. I do have a detached garage, so it's pretty far from the router. And if any latency is shown in this video, it's probably going to be because of my Wi-Fi network. I know most homes have an attached garage, so it just depends on your Wi-Fi network. I plan on getting a mesh system sometime in the near future, I hope, so I could have better coverage out here. I actually do have a second router, but it's just not very reliable. So anyway, if you see any latency in this video, or you have any, it's probably because of your Wi-Fi signal not being very strong in the garage. So now I'm going to actually unplug the sonoff because we need to mount this on the wall. I like to mount it right up here above the button, as you can see. And the way this is going to be wired is you need to actually cut the bell wires coming down from your garage door opener. You could run new ones all the way up there, depending on where you're installing the sonoff at. You could actually install the sonoff next to the garage door opener itself and run new wires into the opener. It's totally up to you, but I like to just keep it on ground level so I can access it if I need to. So you're going to need to cut the bell wires like I've done here, and then you will need to twist them together. That scared me. I accidentally touched the wires together and opened the door again. It freaked me out. So what you're going to need to do is twist those back together and then install them into the relay here. So I'll show you that now. But first I'm going to mount this to the wall. There are pre-drilled holes onto the back plate here. So I'm just going to use one of the mounting holes on the sonoff for now. All right, so now that is pretty secure. Now we need to twist the bell wires together just like they originally were. So mine are white and one of them has a red stripe on it. So I'm going to twist that with the same one, and then the white blank ones, I'm going to twist those together. And now all we have to do is install them in the output side of the sonoff. It does not matter which one goes where, because all that relay is doing is simply touching them together for a moment and then releasing them. All right, so just like that, that is done. Now I'm going to install the little clamp on top. Let me bring you in a little bit closer here. So all we've done is cut these wires in half and twisted them back together and installed them into the output end of the sonoff. Now essentially what that does is it will touch those wires together and activate the garage door. Now the problem with that is you need the sonoff to be momentary. You don't want it to hold those wires together for a long period of time, because what that does is it simulates you pushing and holding the button down, which for many garage door openers, including mine, it bypasses most of the safeties that are implemented into the garage door openers themselves. So what you want it to do is close the relay and then open it back up right away. And the sonoff device handler actually has that built in. So I'll show you that right now. Okay, so back in the SmartThings app, let's go back into our sonoff, which I still have called sonoff test. I'll change that name later. But if we go into the settings, you can see that there's an option to have it automatically turn back off. And you can set the amount of seconds for that. So we don't want it to be on for any more than about a second or two. So I have this one set to 2 seconds. There we go, 2 seconds, and we'll save it. And that's pretty much it. Now, it did take quite a long time, actually a few days for whatever reason, for this configure button to actually turn off. There's a little orange dot next to it, as you can see now. And I did change a few more settings today, but that doesn't matter in this situation. When that little orange dot is removed, that means that all the configuration settings that you change has been updated to the sonoff, including this auto off feature. And I don't know why it takes forever to update, but it does. And maybe you can find out more information on the SmartThings community, where Eric is very active. But it did eventually turn off for me, and the auto off feature is working. And I also have a backup in WebCore. If you're familiar with WebCore at all, it's a very simple piston. If this switch turns on, wait 2 seconds and then turn it back off. So it's just a backup there, because I don't want this held down for a long period of time. If it does, it's not the end of the world, but A, not only will it not work the next time, and B, it bypasses the safeties for the garage door opener, like the laser beam and the force settings in case someone were to get crushed or something like that. So I don't want those bypassed, obviously. All right, now, you could just do it this way. I mean, right now, you turn the switch on, it'll open the garage door. Cool. It'll turn itself back off. Even better. But in order to link the contact sensors with the switch, we need to use a new smart app called LGK Virtual Garage Door Opener. The first thing you're going to need to do is go into your SmartThings IDE and create a virtual device. And what that virtual device is going to be is the virtual garage door opener. So name it, in this case, Amanda's Garage Door Opener. And for the device type, you would just select Simulated Garage Door Opener. And then when you're done with that, you will need to install the smart app called LGK Virtual Garage Door Opener. I'm not going to go in great detail on how to install smart apps. I feel like I've done that a million times. You can check out this video if you're not sure how to install smart apps. I'll leave the link to the code down below. So now that the smart app is installed in the IDE, we can go into the SmartThings app here and add a smart app, My Apps, and find LGK Virtual Garage Door. Now, straight away from here, we need to select the physical garage door opener, which is the sonoff. So mine is called sonoff test still. There it is. The next one is the contact sensor. So this one is called Amanda's Garage Door Sensor. And then the virtual garage door device is the virtual garage door that we just created in the IDE. And when selecting the virtual garage door sensor, it's actually the same as the one above, which is the virtual device we created. And for the timeout, I found the default's 25 seconds. I find that around 20 seconds is good, maybe a little bit less. It just depends on you and how fast your garage door opens. And then, yes, I would like to receive a push notification. So we will save that, go back into My Home and Things, and there it is up at the top. Now it actually looks like a garage door opener. You don't have to worry about turning on a switch and then looking at a different device to see if the contact sensor has opened or closed or whatever. It's all in one system. And even in the push notifications, it lets you know if, say, it were to be opened manually from a button, it will sync all that in this virtual garage door opener, which is pretty cool. So like I said, for me, I've got a pretty bad Wi-Fi signal out here, so it's going to take a second, but let's go ahead and push open. There it goes, as you can see. All right, now let's go ahead and close it. There we go. It's cold. All right, so the auto off feature is working perfectly. I can hear the relay clicking back off after about 2 seconds of being on. So it just clicks on, waits 2 seconds, clicks back off, and that allows it to be ready for the next command. And like I said, the physical buttons, if you're just running out here and you need to open the garage door real quick, they do still work. There you go. Go ahead and close that because it is cold. All right, and as you saw in the app, everything syncs up. It registered that it was opened manually, and it synced up in the app, and now it's showing closed again. So there you go, $5 garage door opener. Now you can use that virtual garage door opener to program into any other automation you may have. Open the garage door automatically when you get home. Open the garage door when your motion sensor, which is right here, picks up motion. Open your garage door automatically when Life 360 sees that you just get home. I have a motorcycle. Carrying a garage door opener around with me isn't very practical. I usually have to get out, go around, come to this door, and open it and then wheel it in. I have a simulated switch that I press before I go out riding that will reopen the garage door opener when it sees that I get back home. You can add this garage door opener into action tiles and open or close them from any action tiles panel you have around the house. Possibilities are pretty much endless as long as you have good ideas for it, and I'm sure you will. And I would love to know those ideas down in the comments below. All right, so these little sonoff devices are really cool. Not only can you control pretty much any device around your home that plugs in, but now for less than $5, we can control our garage door opener, which I think is pretty awesome. Yes, this does take a little bit of extra work soldering and desoldering that wire, making sure your cuts are correct. So like I said, it's not for everyone. As long as you do it carefully, you'll be okay. So let me know in the comments down below if you can think of any other cool uses we could use this mod for. Like I said, the outputs are basically a dry contact now. So anything with a contact that just needs to be closed in order to control can be used in this case. So that's all I have for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you're subscribed and leave a like down below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.